You know how a single sentence can shift the course of everything? Exactly what happened to me. Line. One weak moment, one truth I should have buried, but instead it slipped out of my mouth like venom. I confessed to my husband that I couldn't let go of my first love. And in that instant I didn't just wound him, I shattered my marriage. In a single night. Before I share the whole story, if you've ever felt that love is far more complicated than people admit, hit subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you is the raw and unpolished truth. Never meant for it to happen. I didn't wake up thinking I'd tear apart the life we had built. We had been married 7 years. 7 years of routine mornings, private jokes, quiet meals, and the kind of comfort that felt less like passion and more like a stretched out sweater. He was good to me, dependable, loyal, always present. Maybe that was the issue. Steadiness turned into silence. Love slipped into duty. Somewhere along the path I stopped feeling like a partner and started feeling like just another person sharing space. That evening we were sitting at the kitchen table. He asked me if I was happy. Could have lied. I could have smiled, nodded, and said yes. But something inside me cracked wide open. Instead I looked straight at him and whispered, "I can't forget my first love." Those words fell between us like glass breaking. His face went cold. He blinked as though waiting for me to laugh, to say it was a bad joke. But I didn't. I just sat there staring into my coffee, praying I could swallow the words back down. His voice was almost a whisper when he finally responded, "After all this time you're still holding on to him." I stayed silent because the truth was more painful than anything I could explain. Yes, I was clinging to how my first love made me feel wild, alive, reckless, to the memories of being young and untouchable, to nights filled with dreams of fairy tale futures we believed we could write together. My husband gave me security, but my first love gave me fire, and I missed the fire. That night my husband didn't shout. He didn't throw things or storm out. He just went quiet, too quiet. A silence heavier than any argument we had ever had. Without saying another word, he stood, walked into our bedroom and closed the door. I thought maybe he just needed space, that we'd talk the next morning. But morning came differently than I imagined. When I woke, his side of the bed was empty, half his clothes gone, and a note on the nightstand with just one line, "You already said goodbye." My chest collapsed reading those words. I hadn't meant them as goodbye, but to him it was the cruelest betrayal, because what's more painful than cheating with the body is cheating with the heart. He could forgive mistakes, but not the truth that I had left him in spirit long before. The days that followed blurred together. I kept telling myself he'd come back, that this was just shock, that we could work it out. But each day the silence grew louder. Each day I replayed my confession like a blade twisting deeper into my chest. I destroyed us not because I was unfaithful, but because I couldn't let go of a ghost from the past. Began scrolling through old photos, our wedding, our trips, the way he once looked at me, like I was his whole universe. When I realized he had been my world too, but I was blind to see it. My first love wasn't a man anymore. He was only a shadow, a memory, and I traded living, breathing devotion for something long. People think heartbreak comes from being abandoned, but sometimes it comes from realizing you pushed away the only one who never would have left. Days later I stood in the same kitchen, staring at the same table where I confessed, and I broke down. Because that's when it struck me I hadn't only ended a marriage, I had crushed a man who gave me everything. Words were a wrecking ball I could never take back. Months have passed, and he hasn't come. Friends say he deserves someone better. Family tells me to move on. How do you move on when you're the villain in your own story? When the only person you ache to call is the one you destroyed. Sometimes I still dream of him, returning, standing in the doorway, saying we can repair this. But then I wake to an empty bed and the echo of my confession. And I know the truth was gone because I pushed him away. So if you're listening, let my story be a warning. Don't let memories poison your present. Don't hold on to ghosts so tightly that you lose the hands holding. Now, love isn't always fire and madness. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, imperfect devotion. And if you're lucky enough to have it, don't throw it away. Like I did. Don't confuse peace with emptiness. Don't sacrifice real love for a shadow that cannot love you back. Because one confession is all it takes. And once it's spoken, there's no rewind. No erasing, only regret.